Okay, so I just came from the shower. I have no idea how this is gonna look. I've had worse. So, hi, my name is CJ, and I've never actually done something like this before, but I've always wanted to. I've always been a fan of horror stuff, the strange, the uncanny, all that jazz. Though I never really outwardly speak about it. Sure, I think I've mentioned so many times that I love horror games. The last horror game I think I played was Don't Scream, which I really want to come back to because looking back at it now, the last time I played it definitely wasn't in the best mental state, I guess. And the last one before that was The Mortuary Assistant, which I also want to come back because they had made an update recently, the definitive update, if I remember correctly. And I think before I was also not in the best mental state as well. I'm beginning to sense a pattern. But before that, there was Bendy and the Ink Machine, and Bendy and the Dark Revival, and Outlast, which that I was definitely in the best mental state. But circumstances. Anyway, I mean, I've been a fan of a lot of horror YouTubers for a long time, but mostly I just listen to them while I'm working, like while I'm drawing and making my art stuff. I also cats. I prefer to listen to them in the background, and that's what I've been doing for like Wendigoon. It's been a while since I listened to them, but Rotten Mangoes as well. And there's I spend a lot of time with just Critical Role, but also like I used to do it a lot with Bailey Sarian as well. And Pastra is the newest addition. And I recently got the notification of the video for the Russian sleep experiment that they just made, which reminded me that, oh yeah, I followed Pastra on Twitter very, very recently as well, which is a crime. I should have corrected that crime very early on. So I followed them, and I saw the poll, and I immediately saw a Russian sleep experiment, and I thought, oh, nostalgia, fun. So I picked that, and then whoop-de-doo, it won, and now we have the video. Anywho, this is gonna be fairly new because again, I've never reacted to horror stuff, and again, I've been used to listening to Pastra, and then I will watch. I shuffle from watching and listening, going, ah yes, very good, nice. But yeah, I don't want to prolong this intro too much. If you want to get to know my relationship with horror, I'll maybe talk about it in another video. I would like to do this again, but yeah. Other than that, let's just go for it. Russian sleep experiment. It's been a while. It's been decades probably. But let's go. As a side note, please let me know in the comments if you want to see me do more stuff like this in the future. I recently released several polls on what I should be reacting to next time, and one of them was a YouTube series, and it surprised me. 84. So at this moment, 84 votes have been made, and majority is the oldest view. I'm like, okay. Better for me. Let me know in the future if you want more stuff like this, and if you don't see what you like, you can feel free to suggest it. I'll take it into consideration. That's about it. Thank you very much. Let's go. Okay, I just realized this is the first time I'm going to be watching a Pastra video in 1080p. I'm sorry again, Pastra. I'm so sorry. I don't know if they'll watch this in the future, but I just want to share my love for 500. This is a crime. Oh my god. I never noticed. Hey, no. Pastra only has 560k? That's unbelievable. Absolutely not. Everybody. Okay, I should mention before this, please don't take my reaction as a substitute for the actual thing. Please go and watch Pastra's video first and then come back here. I know that us horror enthusiasts like to have a vicarious kind of I did not like this. I like this now. We had like to have a vicarious experience, especially if subject is too much. But yeah, if you can, please go to Pastra's video first, subscribe and like the video. I don't know, and then come back here if you want. Anyway, I guess we're going. Then here we go. Hold on. Am I in view? Oh my god. Should I be holding Grogu? Alright. Trigger warning, of course. This video contains the following elements, which may be disturbing to some viewers. Graphic descriptions of violence, disturbing imagery, self-harm. And yeah, that speaks for itself. I should probably tell you as well that I will be pausing so I don't talk over Pastra.
The Russian sleep experiment is an interesting creepypasta which delves into the idea of body horror and what it means to be human. While many other famous creepypastas at the time this came out chose to focus purely on elements of the supernatural or their own unique monsters or killers, this story instead chose to take a much more personal approach, exploring the idea of what would happen to the human body if sleep was no longer a necessity.
That is true. I should probably say it's been decades since I actually read the Russian sleep experiment, but just because it's been decades doesn't mean that I forgot the impact of the story itself. I had a period in my high school days of me just casually scrolling on Creepypasta. I don't remember how I found Creepypasta, but he has a point. They mentioned that at the time, Creepypasta really... Oh, I'm sorry for the noises. Oh my god. At the time, there was a lot of emphasis on supernatural stuff in the Creepypasta archives, I guess you could say. There was a lot of the Mickey Mouse thing, Squidward, and of course the emphasis on the killers, like Jeff the Killer. We all know that. Speaking of which, I have watched / listened to the rewrite that Pastra made, and it was yes. Although it did make me laugh sometimes, I should also probably note that horror stuff makes me laugh sometimes. You had your own disclaimer, so I'm making my own as well. Should I put on subtitles? Nah, I'll just listen. Also, again, I'm not a super fan. I've just been a casual fan. But I do want to say I love Pastra's art style. I love the mascot. I haven't. Okay, hold on. Just so we all know where we are in terms of Pastra lore. When I found Pastra, that is not true. YouTube, what the heck? Pretty much did the same thing from Vindigoon, and that is, I found one of Pastra's videos through the recommended. I don't remember what it was. I think it had something to do with Lethal Company, maybe. I think it was the funniest horror game ever made. And then I liked their style. I liked their not just in their video essays, but in the art itself and the writing. And I thought, okay, why not? So I usually like to go back to the oldest. Again, the thing I did with Wendigo and Bailey Syrian, etc., etc. While I also did that, I did also go, and whenever there's a new update, I try and go and watch it immediately, just to stay updated in what they've done. But I should also let you know, I have not watched any of the Dreams of an Insomniac stuff, and I really, really hope I can. This is me just taking a quick peek see at what it is, and it took me just a few immediately. I realized immediately that this was an original thing that Pastra made, and I knew I had to devote a lot of time to it myself. There's a difference between... I've never actually watched any of the analog horror stuff. Everything I watched through Film Theory. Like the back rooms and stuff. But I really, really hope I can sink my teeth into like the oldest view, for example. And then I saw this, and I saw my opportunity. I haven't watched any of the Lankman Dreams of an Insomniac stuff, and I really, really hope I can tackle it someday. I think right now, off the top of my head, my most favorite video Pastra's made. I mean, not that I want to, like. Actually, no, I can't. I don't exactly know what I want. What is my favorite? But just for I guess for recency bias, I really like how they tackled the Jeff the Killer rewrite. Also, this was my informal way of finding out that they use Paint Tool Psy, which is pretty great. It's been a while since I used Psy, and definitely nostalgia trip. I swear to God, I did not watch YouTube, damn it. But Smile Dog as well. Yeah. I guess that's about it. I don't have anything else to say. Sorry, that was a long tangent. But let's just keep going. Sorry. I'll try to shut up.
The story goes as follows. In the late 1940s, a group of
that is the chimney of the guest house of the Dovey Estate in Louisiana from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I see you, Pastra. I see you. Has Pastra talked about Resident Evil 7? Or any of the Resident Evil stuff? I forget. Oh, no, wait, no. No, I'm thinking about another YouTuber. I'm thinking about... What am I thinking about? I don't know why I typed Resident Evil 7 the door and this. I'm thinking of Fat Brett. I'm sorry, yeah, but yeah. Okay, sorry. Let's keep going.
Soviet scientists had captured a group of war criminals and transported them to a covert research facility.
I'm smiling because I miss Resident Evil 7. I've never played the Resident Evil games and I really want to. But I'll try not to get too distracted by Ethan Winters and whatever he's doing in the background. I'll listen back, sorry. No! Keyboard, what the hell?
The late 1940s, a group of Soviet scientists had captured a group of war criminals and transported them to a covert research facility. The reason for this was because the scientists wanted to test an experimental gas which could seemingly remove the subject's need for sleep. The subjects were left in a small room, given their basic necessities, and were monitored day in and day out to see what effects the gas would have on them.
Yes.
For the first 5 days, the subjects did not complain. The gas seemed to have very little effect on them, and they were happy to participate in the experiment under the false pretenses that after 30 days they would be set free. Following the first week was when the
I'm gonna confess right now, I forgot that they were war criminals, but that makes sense.
Subjects began to display changes in their demeanor and personality. They became more paranoid and began recounting traumatic stories to one another from their past.
I don't remember that part. I don't remember them recounting stuff, but that's okay. The more you know.
Behavior which eventually culminated in them trying to win over the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades. All of this behavior was believed to be a direct result of the gas. Okay. 9 days into the procedure, one of the subjects began screaming violently and running around the chamber for 3 full hours.
I remember that. I remember because it kind of like shook me a little bit as I not shook me, just I guess that is shook. It kind of threw me for a loop because there was a certain flow. There was a certain with stories like the Russian sleep experiment. I guess it follows that there's a sort of format that you expect. You know, like day, event, result, day, event, result, etc., etc. But then this suddenly goes, oh yeah, by day 9, this guy starts screaming, and then he stops, and I think he dies. I don't remember the running part, but I do remember the screaming part, just because it just stuck inside my head for so immediately.
Only stopping when his throat physically would not allow it any longer. The other subjects in the room would soon begin to show similar behavior, with some beginning to scream in a similar manner and others beginning to tear apart the books they were provided,
I don't remember that.
smearing the pages with their own feces and using them to cover the windows that were used to observe them.
I don't remember that at all. There were definitely, I think I remember it being graphic. I think a lot of my memory of it has been just like censored in a way. Again, it's been decades, plural, I think. I'm 20, no, not decades. I'm 29, so I don't remember that at all. I just remember the screaming, and then I guess, but I'll try to recount what I remember. I remember them starting to experiment, and then by a few days later, one of them starts screaming, and nobody's like reacting. That's the way I remember it. And then later on, they start misbehaving again, to the point that they're self-harming, they're being self-destructive. So the experimenters, the researchers, had no choice but to get them and restrain them and try to heal them again, and then they Uh, what are the graphic stuff? I'm trying to remember the graphics. I think it was at that point where they're starting to like deteriorate, and they're showing signs that they want the gas even more. They want to come back to the gas no matter what. And then after that, they do return them to the gas. I think I remember the most I remember is that they just stopped responding. There was a long period of time where they stopped responding to any stimulus at all, and then they start doing things. What happens? I forget what happens after that, but I do. Because I know the most iconic part of it is the photograph, which I think like the photograph associated with it isn't actually real. It was definitely edited. I think it was a prop. It was a Halloween prop. Hold on. Let me just do my due diligence. Save experiment prop. Original prop. This image is actually of a life-size animatronic Halloween prop called Spasm. What? What is this goofy-ass looking thing? Oh my god. I mean, compare that to the original thing. You get my point. Look at him. My goodness. Good lord. That just makes me respect the original image even more, because the fact that it looks so old. This is on eBay. 2005 isn't that bad. I mean, I'm not talking about the photo itself. I'm talking about the quality. I don't know, man. I'm just impressed. I'm just even more impressed. Anyway, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. Arrgh!
And then, within the next 3 days, the room went completely and totally silent.
Silent, sorry.
The experimenters had no way of knowing what was happening in there. They had no visuals, no audio, and yet the oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 test subjects
were still breathing,
still alive.
Yes.
Seeing no alternative, the researchers attempted to communicate with the subjects to get a response. They spoke through the microphones, telling the subjects the doors would be opened and they would need to lie flat on the ground or else they would be shot. As well as this, they were informed that if they complied, one of them would be set free. Only one of the subjects...
I remember. I got a flashback. Also, stay hydrated, okay? And this is water. I remember a line. I don't want to be free, or we don't want to be free. Anymore. It's either I don't want to be free anymore, or we don't want to be free anymore.
Spoke up in response.
I shouldn't be feeling happy for a horror video, but yeah, there's a certain nostalgia that I feel towards horror. Again, my personal relationship to horror, I'll talk about it in another time, but yeah.
Simply saying, we no longer want to be free.
That's so much more eloquent than what I said.
Researchers and military, it was decided the doors should be opened anyways and the subjects should be escorted out. The moment the doors were opened and the fresh air flooded in, the subjects began to scream out in agony.
They panicked.
Screams which overlapped with that of the soldiers who saw what had happened in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
The room before them was a mess of gore and viscera, and the subjects looked like something out of a nightmare. They moved and appeared like living corpses, entire portions of their body ripped away to reveal their still working, exposed organs. The noticeable damage at the tips of the subjects' fingers suggested that all the wounds were self-inflicted. The subjects would fight back against the soldiers who...
I don't remember those details. But that's pretty cool. I mean, not the actual body horror, but the fact that this little detail is there, that despite all lack of signs of movement or life, except for the consumption of oxygen, they had been busy. Nobody just knew. And so that there lies the question, how the heck did they do all that without any noise? So they all did that intentionally self-inflicted, so you can imagine them just like shuffling towards each other and like either they're doing them to themselves or doing it to each other, which is okay. Anyway,
who tried to escort them out, killing several of them and wounding several more. Eventually, though, they were successfully sedated and taken in for further research.
I don't remember some of them
research
dying
done
during
on
that
the
process.
subjects raised many unsettling questions.
During the extraction
One of
process,
the subjects who had been given more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative continued to struggle violently against the researchers until eventually bleeding out. His heart would continue beating
Don't remember that.
2 minutes after, despite that, and he spent his last moments thrashing about, screaming the word "more" over and over before falling silent. Those who survived were restrained, and operations were done on them to try and repair their bodies. Those who could still speak continuously begged for more gas, one slipping into a deep sleep which he never woke up from.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Another,
part.
who could no longer speak, had surgery performed on him without anesthetic to avoid him sharing a similar fate. During the whole procedure, the subject was smiling ear to ear, and upon attempting to speak with his damaged vocal cords, the doctor had an assistant fetch a pen and paper for him to write on. The subject simply wrote, "Keep cutting." Once the procedures were done, the subjects were...
I don't remember that. Oh my god. But yeah, it checks out. The self-harm, the self-destruction, it checks out.
placed back.
And I think Pastra is definitely not sharing some of the more graphic details. I don't remember them at all, but what I do remember is that take a shot every time I say remember. Actually, no, don't take a shot. Maybe like take a sip of water every time I say remember. But I do remember the Russian sleep experiment being one of the longest creepypastas I've ever read, and I was very proud of that. But someone crying? Oh, it was the neighbor. Oops, sorry. But it was so long, and I remember being so proud of that progress. And just by that length alone, and you know, it's already been 5 minutes. I think there's definitely some stuff that Pastra isn't saying, which, I mean, they're definitely hitting the beats, and I think that's more important than the obvious gory details. I'm pretty sure other videos have been done where all the details have been said, but we don't need to do that. I'm watching this video to see Pastra's opinions of it as well. I like their takes, I like their recaps, and just keep going.
In the chamber, and following another argument between those in charge of the project, the decision was made to put them back on the gas.
Yes.
In preparation for this, the subjects were hooked up to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement.
I remember
What was
that, but
found
that
when
makes
watching
sense.
the monitors closely was that the subjects appeared to slip in and out of brain death. 1 minute they would
Yes, I remember that, and also I'm trying not to get distracted by even walking in the salt mines. It was the salt mines, I think.
be completely and totally gone, and the next they would be alive just as normal. One subject would end up dying completely before the gas could be let into the room again, and the commander who was in charge gave the order to seal the room with the gas while the researchers were still inside.
Checks out. I don't remember that, but it checks out.
One of the researchers, upon hearing as much, pulled out a gun, killing the commander and turning it on the subjects. He shot...
Oh wait, no. I remember. If are we nearing like the end of the actual story? Oops, I spoiled myself. But so nearly free? Yes. Okay, I remember by the end, one of the researchers asks the patient, not patient, the experiment, one of the experiments, what are you essentially? And they say something along the lines of, we're what you, we are you, just, you know, without sleep. We are you. I'm trying not to get distracted by my thoughts of Doctor Who, the episode, The Sandman, I think, or Sleep No More. It was Sleep No More, and it's basically, the patient says that they have become what people would be if sleep was never an option, or sleep was never necessary. And I think that scares the researcher, and then they pshoo, and then end. And then the patient says, while dying, so nearly free. We'll get into what my thoughts about this entire story afterwards.
One in the head, killing it instantly, and then pointed his gun at the last remaining one who could speak. The researcher said, "I won't be locked in here with these things. Not with you. What are you? I must know." The subject smiled at the researcher and said,
Also, Pastra is a really good voice actor. Not gonna lie.
"Have you forgotten so easily? We are you."
There it is. And I think, yeah, have you forgotten so easily? Again, checks out.
We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind.
It's hitting all the notes in my, emotional notes in my flashbacks.
We are what you hide from in your beds every night.
Yeah.
We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. The researcher paused at the subject's response before aiming the gun at his heart and firing. The subject died there, his last words being, "So nearly free."
Yes.
That was the Russian sleep experiment, and I have quite...
Actually, it's very, very good job of condensing the entire thing within 7 minutes.
a few thoughts about this story.
Please do.
Right off the bat, I feel it is immediately apparent that this is a very morbid story that for the most part relies heavily on its shock value and gore to be scary. This was a common flaw in many old creepypastas from the early 2010s, and
Sorry. I immediately thought of Jeff, but okay, no, we're talking about this.
it is extremely prevalent here. Sometimes it feels as though the story lacks a lot of substance, with there being several full paragraphs dedicated entirely to the detailed descriptions of all kinds of gore and whatever else the author felt the need to include.
My god, I guess I should thank my brain for just blocking out all of those details. I don't remember at all what those graphic details were. I just remember, me feeling proud of myself for reading this whole ass document, long ass document, and it reading like an actual experiment document and being left with because I think the horror isn't with the fact that the scary picture, that's one thing, but the horror lies therein with the fact that it feels very close to home. It's a very approachable, I guess you can say realistic, because a lot of horror stems with, shock value, there's that. But I think it's the horror that really creeps inside you, and slowly fans out, that sticks with you the most, at least in my experience. And I think it was this feeling that the cause of this the main horror of this entire story, the cause of it is so simple. It's so achievable. Yeah, I think that's sorry, hold on, I'll let that stop. I think it's the fact that this story was entirely achievable, was entirely possible, that makes it so scary. It's those things that are really, really close to reality, sometimes even in the most mundane way. And I think the fact that it's so mundane in its approachability heightens that realism even more. The fact that it's such a simple thing as sleep, as insomnia, could trigger all the horrors in this, which makes it so memorable.
Hell, I left out most of the descriptions this story gave because not only did they go way further than what I felt comfortable describing,
That's
but they
respectable.
also had
Don't
quite
worry.
literal...
You can see in my face that I've never seen this specific look of the Pastra avatar. Again, I usually just listen, but looks really cool.
Literally nothing to the story. This major element of how the story is written was definitely a big turnoff for me, and is one of the reasons why this is not one of my favorite creepypasta stories.
Understandable.
By any means.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I do feel like there is a very good reason why this story is so iconic despite that, and it has to do with both the ending and the general concept it is built on. The Russian sleep experiment is terrifying because it proposes the idea that any person reading has the capacity to become the monsters shown in it.
Exactly.
With that single ending line, we learn that these horrific creatures are not the result of the gas, but rather what the human body is capable of becoming if sleep is no longer a necessity.
It's the fact that there's something that you can unlock. A hidden achievement that nobody knows about, and you accidentally, it's Pandora's box basically, and the fact that the locking key is right there, and you can accidentally open that lock at any time. I think it also, I mean, now that I'm much older and I'm familiar with a lot more stories that are relating or not relating, that are similar to this, like about the Unit 731, the MK Ultra program, I think that just adds even more to the horror of it. The fact that people came so close. Well, not so close. Those stories I mentioned are definitely much worse, and in their actual history. But it's the fact that there are similar stories to this fictional one. Yeah. Just shut my mouth.
It's a deeply personal, existential horror that this story provides, and it may cause the reader to question the very reason why we sleep in the first place.
Yes.
I also find it incredibly fascinating how the story shows us this concept in a way that vaguely implies something supernatural is at play.
That too.
Because on one hand, your takeaway from the story simply could be the idea that this is the natural state the human mind enters if it does not require sleep. But that leaves us with a lot of questions. How do these subjects stay alive after their bodies have undergone such severe damage? Why do they only die once they've fallen back to sleep? What did the final subject mean when he said he was nearly free? All of those questions remain unanswered when you view the story through that lens.
Exactly.
But what if there was something supernatural going on? What if the ending is trying to tell us that there is something out there? Something completely unknown to us that is staved off only by our ability to sleep.
Also, again, I'm not trying to be distracted, but if this is Pastra's gameplay, I respect it. They're doing a really good job. I think this is the area.
What if this?
No, I might be wrong. I'm thinking of the area because there's a certain point in the game where suddenly it just keeps giving you more and more ammo, so you wonder. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thing, whatever it is, began using these subjects as its vessel.
I think this is after the birthday puzzle that Lewis. No, it's not. Anyway, it shouldn't be distracted. I'll go back to properly listen. I'm sorry.
Unknown to us that is staved off only by our ability to sleep. What if this thing, whatever it is, began using these subjects as its vessel, keeping them alive so long as they stayed awake just to revel in the terror and pain it brought? All of this is completely speculative. However, with how the story is written, it definitely seems to imply this. And if this were the case, that final line of "so nearly free" is painted in a new, horrifying context.
Exactly.
Regardless of your interpretation, it's all those ideas that I feel make this a standout creepypasta.
Yeah.
It may rely far too heavily at times on elements of shock value which do not ultimately add to the story.
I don't know if it means anything that the fact I don't remember the shock value anymore. Like, I don't remember the feeling of shock value anymore. All I remember, like, whenever I think about the Russian sleep experiment, all I think, the main feeling I get is sadness. And I'm not sure why. Sadness, also a kind of dread that it's like there's prominent panicky dread. And there's dogs. There's also the dormant kind of dread where it just feels like a white noise. But yeah, whenever I think of the Russian sleep experiment, and also think of, yeah, that the writer did a really good job. But it also speaks to the fact that I don't remember the details anymore, and I'm glad. I guess I'm kind of glad that Pastra decided not to divulge into those. But anyway, let's actually end this.
But it makes up for it by presenting a deeply disturbing concept which makes the reader question aspects of their life they never would have before. It is an internet horror classic,
Yes.
and I feel it will continue to be for a very, very long time.
Indeed.
Thank you for watching.
You're welcome. That was a really nice one. I don't know if I'll ever do this to, like, the the longer videos they've done. Things like these short ones, I think I can definitely do. Things like this, the Ted's Caving Journal. I can't. I don't know if I can. I'd love to. I can try if people want. If you guys want it. What are the ones that I haven't listened to yet? Watched yet? I'm sorry. Because I shuffle from Wendigo. Actually, no, I stick a lot to Wendigo these days. But yeah. Again, I want to save Dreams of an Insomniac stuff. I know that there was an ARG, but I don't know if it's is there? Hold on, just 1 second. Foundation Archive. Ooh, soundtrack. Oh wait, did they make their own music or? Okay, anyway. Resi Evil. Nice. Lankman. Okay. Few playlist. I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Pastra's Analog Horror Series. Okay, so there are only 5 videos. Honestly, they're pretty short. I could probably do an entire hour like reaction for these. Maybe. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. But okay, that's about it, I think. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. I don't know if this will... I don't know if this will resonate with anyone. Again, I don't really talk about it too much these days. I would love to. And maybe someday I'll talk more about my relationship with horror as well. But until then, thank you so much for watching. My hair has definitely dried. I should probably start combing it. But again, thanks again. See you in the next one. Bye. Don't forget to vote in the polls. Subscribe, I guess, if you want to. Goodbye. Take care. Stay hydrated. Bye-bye. I should start combing.